It's nice to see you again. Welcome in our e-learning semantics class. Today we are going to talk about figures of speech. To understand better what figure of speech is, we need to first of all talk about a closely related field of semantics to figures of speech. Whenever you talk about speech, there are two types of speech, namely literal speech and figurative speech. Now, let us concentrate first on literal speech. Literal speech is the speech in forms of words, phrases, or sentences, of which meaning are exactly the same as what is stated and what dictionary says about the meaning of these terms. The purpose of using this is to give the exact and the concrete things or the concrete understanding of what is stated. In daily conversation, this is used, and it is also used in the field of science in terms of theory, definition, or research report. And another one, it is also used in the instruction of how product is used in user guides. All right, and another one, figures of speech, is the speech that needs to be understood beyond literal sense. There will be, a kind of vividness, concreteness, and expressiveness, as well as directness or directiveness. To understand figure of speech, you just want to know, a kind of mental pictures of what is stated, in addition to the notative sense or literal sense. Now let us concentrate on the types of figures of speech in English. There are hundreds actually types of figures of speech in English, but we just want to limit our discussion on the most typical and the most frequently used terms of figures of speech in English, namely simile, metaphor, personification, apostrophe, metonymy, synecdoche, oxymoron, hyperbole, onomatopoeia, and alliteration. Now let us talk each one of them. Let's talk about each one of them. Now the first one, simile. Simile is a comparison between two different things having something in common. For example, we say he sleeps like a baby. Yes, he and the baby are compared because they have something in common in terms of the act of sleeping. Yes, he sleeps like a baby. That means he sleeps he sleeps just like a baby. Yeah, a baby sleeps peacefully. Yes, and he sleeps peacefully. It is not denotative, it is not literal, but we just want to give additional meaning or the effect of mental, how he sleeps, how well he sleeps. In simile, we use connective or comparison words like and as. For instance, he sleeps like a baby. Her skin is as smooth as silk. John ran as fast as horse in the race. So we use here like or as. Closely related to this, which compare two things having something in common, is called metaphor. Metaphor is also the comparison of two things, but It is slightly different from simile since it does not use connective or comparison words like as. We just directly mention or connect the two things. For example, you say here, the soldiers were lions in the war. The soldiers were lions in the war. You mean the world to me. You are my world. Alright? So there is no connective or comparison words. So there is also the intention of the speaker using this. This is to give vivid or dramatic effect to the listeners or to the reader. And the third one is personification. Personification is the act of giving human traits or human qualities to non-living things or inanimate objects. Can be, non-living things, maybe idea, maybe intentions, maybe desire, and so on. The example of this kind of personification is the moon smiles at us. Moon is inanimate object, but it is personified by saying something that is done by a human being smiling. The moon smiles at us. Another one, new hope is knocking at our door. New hope is knocking at our door. Yes. Knocking at door is conducted by animate object, namely human being. Yes, inanimate object like hope cannot do that, of course. Yes. And another one, which is more easily understood, is the trees are dancing. The trees are dancing. How could trees dance? Yes, but because it moves forward and backward when winds blow, or when winds are blowing. So this is personification. And the next one is apostrophe. Apostrophe is the act of using speech. Yes, in the absence of something to which you address your statement or your speech. For instance, you say, wind, blow wind. Or you say, blow wind, blow. Or you say, you stupid car. Or evil thought, don't disturb me. Evil thought, don't disturb me. Alright? So you talk to something which is physically absent in the context of conversation, in the context of speech. Yes? When you treat this object as if they could hear what you say. This is what we say once again, apostrophe. And the next one is metonymy. Metonymy is the use of one term to refer to another one which is closely associated to it. For instance, White House is used to represent the United States administration, where the President of US and his staff of administration live. So, when White House is used, it represents the whole, the President and his staff. So, you can say, the White House officially declared war. The White House officially declared war. It can mean that the US administration officially declares war. Another example is the use of istana, palace, in Indonesian administration. Istana Negara, that means state palace, can also be used as a metonym. The metonym is referred to the word itself instead of metonymy. Yes. Istana tidak menyetujui ekspor gas. Istana does not permit gas export. Istana here is palace. The state palace does not permit gas export. So it represents Indonesian government, where President Jokowi and his staff lives and works. This is metonymy. And you know, there is another one, red tape. Yes, R-E-D-T-A-P-E, red tape. Yes, red tapes refers to documents. Yes, files. Yes, piles of files or piles of documents that are actually not chiefly required. So, red tape is used to represent the documents of such a thing. And red tape, yes, can also represent bureaucracy. Bureaucracy has a kind of connotation that is complicated procedure and complicated mechanism, yes, is going on in bureaucracy. So you can also say this is a red tape. This is, what do we say, metonymy. And another one is synecdoche. Synecdoche is, the use of speech to refer to part or whole. So part of an object can be used to represent the whole, or the whole can be used to represent part. Now look at this. Look at my new wheels. New wheels refer to new car. Wheels are just part of car, but it represents the whole car. Yes? So part represent the whole. And another one, you can say Indonesia won 3 medals in Asian Games. Indonesia is a whole. It represents only Indonesian team that participates in Asian Games. This is what we call by synecdoche. Another one is hyperbole or hyperbole. Hyperbole is a speech of exaggeration. You exaggerate the fact to give dramatic effect for this to the listener or to the reader of your work. Say, for example, you say, they died working. It means they work very hard. They don't die, actually. Denotatively meaning they don't die. Yes? Denotatively, it can be they die, of course, but connotatively speaking, they don't die at all. Right? So there is exaggeration of how they work. They died. And another one, the river of blood flooded in the Civil War. The river of blood flooded in the Civil War. Of course, there is no river of blood. It is an exaggeration to give effect to the listener how fierce is the war. This is the meaning of this. This is a dramatic thing. Alright? Okay. And another one is oxymoron. Oxymoron is the speech where two contradictory words, when two contradictory meanings are used. You can say the financial scandal is an open secret now. Yes, there are two contradictory words here. Yes, secret actually means something that is closed, that is not revealed, while open is open. So how can be something that is closed be open? Yes, so this is why we say this is, yes, oxymoron. Another example is the summit delegations agreed not to disagree on the agenda of the upcoming summit. Over here you can see agree to disagree, two different or two contradictory words. Why is it used? Because disagreement or agreement cannot be chosen. So agree to disagree. This is what we have, a good example of oxymoron. Onomatopoeia is the next figures of speech. This is the speech where terms is used on the basis of how an object sounds. Yes, the natural sounds it has. For example, the snake's hiss made me scared. The snake's hiss made me scared. The sound of snake is hissing, of course. And then we use hiss here, yes, okay, to refer to the sound of snake hissing. This is an example of onomatopoeia. And the last one that we are going to talk about here is alliteration. Alliteration is the speech where initial sound that are commonly consonants are repeated to have a special effect or to make the reader understand this easily or remember or memorize this easily. For example, Coca-Cola, Dunkin' Donut, Mickey Mouse. Yes. Using these figures of speech once again, the listener or the reader of advertisement where they are written down can easily memorize this instead of if they are named with different or with another terms. All right. So I have explained to you already 10 types of figures of speech that are mostly used in daily conversation, in daily work of literary. Yes. And I just want to sum up what I said again. That when you talk about figurative language, you need to talk about literal speech. Literal speech, once again, is the speech in the forms of words, phrases and sentences of which meanings are exactly the same as what is said and what is said in dictionary. And while figurative language is used whenever the speakers or the writer want to have certain effects, vivid effects, or want to give emphasis on what he says. So again, this is what we can say or we can talk about figures of speech. Hopefully, in your daily conversation, you can use figure of speech, because in your mother tongue as Indonesian English speaking person, yes, and you have to be able to use figures of speech as frequently as possible, or whether you do it consciously or unconsciously. So it has practical purpose, of course. I think this is the end of our class of today. I thank you very much for your great enthusiasm to our e-learning class of semantics. Goodbye.